Mr. Phoenix sits, holding the urn of ashes, hating his name. He thinks he might pour the ashes on the ground, on his feet on the ground, and feel them between his toes. She used to play with his toes when they were sitting watching the fire on quiet weekends away from the world. In the late summer, she played with his toes in the wet sand on the beach. He opens the urn and finds not ash, but a plastic bag rolled tightly over on itself into a long tube, which when he unrolls this, he is confronted by an even more tightly zipped seal at the top. He did not expect this. No one told him about the plastic. He did not know she had spent the last 7 months suffocating in a rolled-up plastic bag. He drops his hands for a moment, frustrated at his involuntary neglect. He looks around the room and finds a piece of white paper. He thinks he can make a kind of funnel out of this. That will help him get the ashes out of this plastic bag and into the metal urn. He wonders if there's a real funnel in the kitchen, and then decides that it's probably covered with flour, or maybe honey. He unloads the ashes from the plastic bag onto the paper in small portions. Then he curls the paper around the ashes and pours them into the urn. His system seems to be working. On the third small pile of ash, he starts to wonder, is this her hand? Her nose? Her brain? That muscle in her throat that always made her voice crack when she was excited? Maybe this is the finger where she wore the silver ring with the garnet stone carved into the shape of a little face. He pours gingerly, expecting the ring to fall out of the plastic bag onto the paper, even though he knows the ring is behind him in a box on a shelf. He licks the tip of his finger and dips it into one of the piles, then sticks it into his mouth. Mr. Phoenix is 51. He is at that age when the wise musicians whose songs taught his boyhood the ins and outs of life and love have begun to die. He is at that age when the moments of history that defined his sense of right and wrong are becoming things that new minds research, not remember. He is at that age where the young people's clothes look hideous and he cannot buy pants that make him feel like himself anymore. He is at that age. No, he can still find pants. That complaint was hers. No, don't pick that up. Put that down. Why, I say. It's infested. Infested with what? I don't know. Fleas? Yeah, probably fleas. It's infested with fleas. I drop the sweater back onto the upholstered armchair. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. You're a man and everything. What does that have to do? I don't know. Just leave it alone. Take a rest. She is sitting, hunched back on a wooden stool, squinting, uninterrupted by my arrival, through expired prescription glasses, with her face inhaling distance from a beat-up, second-hand easel, which is 3 times the size of the painting she is smearing oil paint on. This must be the 15th layer. It's falling to the floor in clumps. It is a painting of a naked woman reclining in a vineyard, grapes, etc. It's totally unoriginal, like a hackneyed, shitty attempt to copy, what's-his-name, the guy who painted those Rubenesque Rubens. I guess that was his name. She's not a very good painter. This painting is dumb. Maybe she is too. I think right now, I think that. I think I don't even like her. That's what I think right now. I don't like being lied to. I obviously can't take a rest on the chair that has the suspicious, supposedly flea-infested sweater on it. I obviously can't sit on anything if there's a flea-infested sweater within 5 feet of it. If the sweater is infested, then the whole place is infested. I'm standing in an infested place. An infestation. She scratches at her ankle. I came to get my tripod back, I assert. Yeah, no, I sold that a few weeks ago. What do you mean you sold it? I mean, I got rid of all that stuff. I'm not making photos anymore. I got rid of all that stuff. The moisture of her breath must be forming little water droplets on the painting. I stare at her profile. Now I'm squinting. She pushes up her glasses on her nose. There's tea if you want to make some. She uses the end of an excessively long paintbrush to point to the small hallway kitchen. I turn around and walk out the front door, down the stairs, and out a bigger, heavier front door which closes with a clank behind me. I left her door open. I just didn't bother. She won't notice until the mailman comes. I stand there. I'm just standing here. There's nowhere I want to go. There's never anywhere I want to go. I go places because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. So when I talk to someone, I can tell them I went somewhere and did something. People expect that. Yesterday, I took an online class to learn how to breathe. Apparently, I don't know how to exhale, apparently. I'm too controlling of my diaphragm. I don't let it rest. I don't let my diaphragm rest. I inhale oxygen, and then before my diaphragm is even ready, I inhale more oxygen, like an oxygen hoarder. Apparently, I am hyperventilating all the time. Apparently, I'm supposed to have more carbon dioxide more of the time, but I don't, so I'm deprived of it. She said that when people have a panic attack, that's why we tell them to breathe into a paper bag, so they can breathe in carbon dioxide. She said it would take years before my body would recover from CO2 deprivation. I need to practice better breathing as often as I could, she said. I don't see how it's possible to practice breathing enough to change it. It seems to me that all the crappy breathing I'm doing every minute of every day and all night will pretty much outvote the few minutes of good breathing I might manage, and I will end up in the same situation, hoarding oxygen, which, to be honest, seems like where humans are headed soon enough. I wouldn't mind walking around breathing into a paper bag, though. That feels like something I could do. I'm still standing here. I could go left, towards the woman, yanking the sniffing and pissing apartment-sized dog away from the sidewalk tree in its iron cage. Those dogs really make me depressed. So do those trees. I could go right. There's nothing over there worth mentioning. I could go back upstairs and make tea in the infestation. I'm not going to do that. There's no way I'm going to do that. I don't want to see her. Ever again. I don't want to see her ever again. I could cross the street. Okay, if I cross the street, I'll be standing over there. I can do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cross the street. I'm going to stand over there. Do you dream of dying when you are asleep? Or when you are awake? Yes, you can call me now. Yes, there is time for this now. Yes, you can call me now. I said that. Yes, you can listen to that now. Thank you. Yes, you can hold my hand now. I have no objection to that. Well, maybe I do, but you should try anyway. We can talk about it if it doesn't go well. No, tomorrow won't work. Tomorrow, I will already be gone. The queen takes off her crown and places it tenderly on a fully stuffed velvet pillow on the dressing table where she sits. It is a new pillow, deep red, with tassels of real silver tied to each of the four corners. A braid of yellow silk runs around the border, playing tag with each tassel until they are joined into one. In this square sits the circle of the crown. Brass or gold, it's hard to tell which. It is an old crown. She doesn't look into the mirror in front of her. For most queens, this time of evening would bring a servant to undo her hair and undo the day, preparing her for sleep. But this queen is alone and does neither. She avoids catching the mirror with her gaze, but out of the side of her eye she can see that her image is there. When she moves, it moves. When the queen was not a queen, but a girl, a few years before she became something other than a girl, she would draw a picture of a flower in a champagne glass sitting in front of a mirror like she is sitting in front of now. The flower in the foreground of the drawing was alive, but the flower in the mirror in the drawing was dead. She drew this picture over and over. Finally, she sent it into a magazine which published it. No one asked her anything about it, though. She sits in the quiet, running her finger over the smooth faces and ridges of the faceted clear stone at the highest spire of the crown. She loves this diamond. She admits to that. That never seemed a crime. The diamond had always been hers. When she was a girl, she used to wear it in a small muslin drawstring pouch which hung next to her heart. Sometimes she picked a small flower and put it in the pouch to keep the diamond company. At night, it lived on the small, odd-shaped, three-legged table by her bed, which she had made herself in school woodworking class. The diamond sat quietly on a small scrap of dark orange velveteen, brightly shining, openly, joyfully, simply, with no expectation but to make her happy by having it. Then one morning she woke up early. The curtains were open, but she had shut them the night before. The window had a new lock on it. When she turned to her table, she saw that the diamond was not in its place. The crown was there instead. Her diamond was fused forcefully at the top of it. She took the crown down the flight of wooden stairs to show her family, who were playing a game which only required 4 people. They laughed. They thought she had made the crown herself. She was always making things out of trash she found around the house. They told her that if she wanted to wear it, which they thought was a ludicrous idea, she would have to earn the crown, not once, but every minute of every day, because no one who saw her with it would believe it was hers. They promised that they were the only ones who would tell her the truth about this. If her family were right, then these were false cheers she heard outside on the street near the front door. Still in bare feet from waking, she held the crown awkwardly in her left hand as she opened the door with her right. "Hurrah!" the people proclaimed. Finally, the diamond was where it belonged. She would be their queen now. She would serve them as readily as if she were their housemaid and be just as thankful for the work. She would do all the things they were too afraid to do themselves. They would tell stories to each other about her daring and risk and truth and honesty. And every morning they would check their newspapers for a record of her good deeds. And every day they would walk past her small home, for she was never granted a palace, and be surprised when they remembered that was where she lived. And every night as she fell to sleep, the echoes of their cheers would whisper to her from the distance. And then, after another too short night, the echoes would come in screaming every morning, waking her with the disappointment of the dawn. Night does not know why Dawn is so angry with him. Yet she comes in every day blazing, her cheeks flushed from holding back her argument. She is furious at his retreat and the empty sky delivered as her inheritance. As her anger fades into grief, as all anger eventually does, she weeps, leaving her tears on everything. Everything. We peer out our windows to find our cars, our gardens, our doorsteps glistening moist with her pain. But because we cannot bear the confusion of light and sorrow, we wipe the wet away so we can get on with our day. And as Dawn observes us dismissing her melancholy, she turns her back, presenting only the glow of her unbraided hair to burnish us and to claim as if it were generated by our own will. She spends the day in this pose, with her back to us, looking toward a horizon she hopes will bring death, since it will not grant her peace. Feeling the beat of a heart in her that cannot seem to mend. There can be no satisfaction in drought, and the colors she makes as she shines through the rain have become as boring as a trite parlor trick. She no longer thrills in displays of her own power. No one does. And so the day goes on. When the evening hour draws near, and all the people change their shoes and become a type of shift worker, Night returns, timidly, with his eyes lowered, pleading his case, his arms full of bouquets of pale stars that Dawn cannot see. He attempts to mimic her fragility, which she is constantly imploring him to honor, but he never succeeds in touching her. Her back remains turned. Pulling her hair around her neck and over her shoulder, she walks away, growing smaller and smaller until she is only a suggestion of heat. The trace of her hand on a knob closes a door on the cold but curious heart of night. He concedes. He turns to look into our windows, where we draw lines between outdoor and indoor, public and private actions. He resigns himself to the job of keeping the company of loners who declare him their confidant, artists who claim he is their most faithful patron, lovers who pull him inside to cover their skins. They all have only one sin, that sin of hoping anyone can love them as much as they love themselves. Night grows colder. He knows true love can never be returned. Drained by the delusions for which he is forced to play court's witness, he sighs. He dreams of Dawn, wishing she will rise again, hoping she has made peace with her misery and will relieve him of his own.